Good evening, good night, and welcome. This is officially the Dark of Bethany, and I'm your humble host, storyteller, and narrator, Nobody. Tonight's episode is entitled, And the Clouds Perished. This is Season 2, Episode 4, and from the bottom of our hearts, top of our minds, thank you for your time, your efforts, your energies, and hopefully you will enjoy this particular episode. Thank you. Okay, well, as always and eternally, I'm thankful that we are here. We get a chance to embody these characters, to step away from our real world for a little bit, enjoy, or try to enjoy, the catastrophes that are their night-to-night existence. And tonight's episode, tonight's moment with these characters, it's going to be a little slightly divergent, because when we last left, they had partaken in the character assassination and capture, detaining of one of the more militaristic arms of Bethany's inner council. They did so with the idea, at least superficially, of protecting their own selves. It's one of those very real and very intrinsic moments where better them than me. Overall, at least that's the superficiality of it, because at any moment during the whole interplay, at any moment during the exchange of truths and half-truths, either member of the gathered assemblage could have taken a stance or a step and left it solely in the realm of what actually was, to allow the facts of their situation to speak for them, to elicit what mercy they could, solely based on truth, not perception. No one did.
Well, that's not true. I told the truth until the end, when it was more fun not to.
You gotta remember, Annabelle. Okay, perception is reality, and reality is truth. So the way that we see things is the way that they are.
Shut up, Darius.
I'll go back to my hole now.
No, don't shut up, Darius. You're wise.
Alright, please continue. Sorry about that.
No, and that's how most people would characterize it. Well, I did tell the truth. I did, but did you? There's the understanding that everyone has their own internal truth, which is all about perceptual ethics and how everything shifts and changes and blends and conflates, because just because you lied doesn't mean that you didn't speak truth and all of that hullabaloo. But the truth was, none of what Asher tossed at Logan was within your purview. Its truth and factual standing, as far as you were concerned, is unprovable. In fact, most of what he leveled and had you all agree to in that moment for the characters was completely false. Because just because it happened or may have transpired didn't make it true. because the perception that he was painting was illusory at best and an outright bold, bald-faced lie, of being completely rendering it down to its binary. By going along with that, even at the cost of it saving you all from consideration, by shifting the focus and potential blame onto someone else, well, it's a good thing we don't deal in absolutes. All of this to say,
I mostly blamed the ringmaster, which definitely his fault. I'm just saying. And then it's my job to sow chaos.
Nice.
I had to.
Hi.
I was just following orders. Yes.
Look, vacuums are good for society. Power vacuums, specifically.
Someone's been listening to Ayn Rand again. Back to your hole, Darius. Back to your hole. All of that to say, and the buildup of that and that consideration. We, as viewers, as players, as in this moment, will be picking up roughly 3 nights later. 3 whole, unfettered, unmolested nights later. So, to address that few small moments in between, because for beings that are immortal, the truth of the matter is their freedom and their prison are their thoughts. You know how you are absolutely correct. You know, you turned off the TV, you turned off the stove, everything's unplugged, and yet the moment you close the door, all of those things begin to assail you. Did you really turn it all the way off? Did you hear the click? Did you make sure that everything was unplugged? Did you make sure that all the lights were off? Wait a minute, maybe I should leave one light on, because what if I'm not back in time? No, it'll be fine. Did I make sure that the dog had enough food? Did I put enough food out for the cats? Did I make sure that they had fresh enough water? Even though you just done all of those things, the moment you establish distance between it being visually in your line of sight, it begins to pick at the edges of your consideration as you make your commute wherever it is that you're going, as you go check the mail. All of those niggling, nagging thoughts begin sowing doubt in what you've actually done. And while it can paint visions yet seen and paradises yet to be tasted, your thoughts can also become their own form of purgatory. They can eat away at the edges of your confidence and at your sense of self if you allow them. Kindred have the benefit of forever and the freedom and cage of their thoughts. 3 nights after experiencing something that heretofore had been unimagined. 3 nights when the world blinkered itself into complete darkness for far longer than you thought possible. The light from the bonfire gone. All sounds and feeling of electricity gone. The stars above your head non-existent. And then just as suddenly as they all disappeared, they returned. All of that light, all of that energy, as if not them being missing, but you were missing during those moments. Having swam in the lake of forever, your heart's desire close enough to touch, for those of you who went across the boundaries from this world into the mirror. For those of you who started one place and materialized another. For those of you who days earlier, weeks earlier, seconds earlier would have given your right eye tooth to hear the sound of a loved one's voice to you running from it. You all have 3 days, had 3 nights to have your thoughts have their way with you in regards to the impossibility of the situation you were in. So, on this particular episode, Season 2, Episode 4 of The Dark of Bethany, not only my thanks, but my appreciation. And this, without a shadow of a doubt, is the start of And the Clouds Perished. We'll be beginning anti-alphabetical in regards to a summation of what transpired for the character in the previous 3 nights.
I suppose that means me, huh?
Well, anti-alphabetical would be Maddie, Lita, Joji, India, then Annabelle.
Yeah. So you get all the time in the world to think.
Right?
Thoughts to think.
See, this is exactly why I choose characters who are like in the middle of the alphabet.
I mean, I don't know how much more middle of the alphabet you can get with an M.
I don't know what you're talking about. You just got unlucky this time around. Preach, girl, preach.
Right? Okay, so a couple of things that she would be doing during those 3 days of downtime is she would probably be hitting Duolingo a little bit and studying that whole Latin thing.
Now that you started, you can never stop.
Right? It was going to yell at me every 10 minutes until I do something with it. And then beyond that, she will probably try to spend a little bit of time with Jerry, since he said he was going to be out at the crossroads the next night.
Nice.
There are as many myths and tales and old wives' tales about what happens at a crossroads. It's foundational to various considerations of music. It's foundational to various aspects of fame. It is foundational in regards to souls trapped between this world and the next. The crossroads, not in of themselves, but as part of the idea, the science of magic, a place where one or more forces meets, either its lowest point or its highest point, are places of power, and crossroads are the meeting place for things going and coming. There is, without a shadow of a doubt, power in their very existence. There's no other way to put it. Most people ignore that power. Most people turn a blind eye purposefully and accidentally to that and those considerations. Unfortunately for Maddie, she is not one of those. Howard's Barbecue, the roadhouse there, has been a great seat for many people to watch the strange happenings at Greenwood and Buncombe, the major crossroad for the area. The reason why it's a major crossroads for the area is it's also, quiet as kept, one of the formerly back road paths in and around the area. How to escape Bethany, how to sneak into Shreveport, not that you really can, through Buncombe. It was also one of the many ways to avoid back when 79 was a toll road. It was, in other words, they took paths of ease for the old wagons and horses, and at a time, even the buffalo that were in the area and turned it into a relative major thoroughfare. Howard's Roadhouse has not always been Howard's Roadhouse. Before Howard's Roadhouse, it was Tiny's. Before Tiny's, it was the Speak Low, and before the Speak Low, and it goes back and back and back until foundational times during the rise of the American Plains Drifter, during the good old cowboy days. There's always been a house of ill repute, either through liquid spirits or physical intimacy on loan here. Now, barbecue is the most sinful thing publicly available. So meeting him there at the crossroads has its own sort of build-up, its own sort of expectations. The question for Maddie in meeting Jerry at the crossroads, is she one of those Shamir that attempts to maintain her awareness of the many worlds around? Does she keep up her sense the unseen? Does she keep a exposed fang tucked into her cheek to draw blood, to summon up her ability to see the many potential varieties of now through premonition? Or is she solely grounded in the here and now, mindfully aware of where she physically is?
She is likely mindfully aware of where she is, just by sheer dint of how she came to be in this world.
So aside from a few fights, one person falling off the steps with too much barbecue in their hands, and otherwise Jerry broadcasting his episode from the crossroad as he speaks about this, that, and the other, keeping his circle of protection up around him, the various devices, while the larger rig that you all came upon him with is a strange iteration. He also manages to do so on his person. His belt is ringed with electronic devices, Walkmans, both disc and tape. He has several pagers and phones that no longer are popular or acceptable, meaning that they're flipped. They have a full haptic keyboard, and older technology, even though it's cutting edge for its time, is filled with various seleniums and irons and bits of this and that, and he uses that as a Batman utility belt of protection against the many supernatural things abounding. So besides taking in the lovely stench of barbecue and public drunkenness, was there any targeted information or exchange, or was she just simply trying to take a night off, as it were?
Well, I mean, taking a night off from some things, not taking a night off from others. Mostly she is going to listen to him ramble and keep an eye out for, any of the number of crackpots in the area who might be like, you know what? He's got a lot of stuff that could be worth money. Let's see what he's got.
Okay. So a lovely quietude in the offing. A lovely bit of everyday psychopathy versus the strange happenings of just a few nights prior. And speaking of strange happenings and a few nights prior, Lita, 3 nights.
Probably need to hunt down some blood bags. Need a peckish, so I think she'd really go look for somebody who will sell her some blood.
Ah, yes. Prowling around the back alleys of the hospital, being totally not suspicious.
Yeah.
Okay. So Lita tends to herself. She tends to focus in on her wish and want to satiate those baser requirements of existence. She taps one contact after the other, attempting to escape. Does she try to gain enough stolen blood to hole up in her haven and study, read, investigate? Or does that become, by act of pursuit, her escape, her attempt to not really think about anything?
I think she's probably going to want to experiment with her powers a little bit. And I think she'll probably want to spend some time kind of just using her Wear the Shroud Thin's ability to look for places where the shroud is unusually thin.
Okay. So in her pursuit of finding places similar to where she was in the cemetery, in her pursuit of finding places where things are actually happening, where the reality of her day-to-day, her night-to-night existence falls away as a reality of the other side of the veil, the other side of the other end of the spectrum of life abounds. Does she go to the actual usual places, the places where it is a given that such things would be possible?
I think she'd more for places that she has heard are hot spots that are where local rumors are swirling around.
All right, I need to say something. Lita is absolutely carrying a massive set around this town to have nearly been trapped in the mirror dimension for all eternity, then to immediately turn around and go like, yeah, I'm gonna go look for the part where the veil kind of splits and reality can seep in and vice versa. Yeah, no, I want to go find that.
Yeah. It's the only way.
Lita truly is willing to stare into the abyss.
Yep.
She's the most brave of us all. Alright, sorry, I just felt like I needed to get that compliment out there. Feel free to continue.
Cashews are absolutely delicious. So the reason why I was asking, because it's impossible. And while nothing is impossible, this is literally impossible. To not, in pursuing those places, find yourself at the crossroad. It is impossible to not find yourself at one of the several handful of dozens of cemeteries in and around Bethany. one of the many things that people don't consider. And it is not odd because you all are nominally local and often are in fact never having left. But within a hour drive from the center of Bethany, there are over 45 different cemeteries. The town itself, Bethany, was founded on two things: outlaws and religion. The first building, the lasting building, the building that sums up what Bethany is in fact a church, a dilapidated church. It moved several blocks east of its original location, but the foundational aspect of what Bethany was things that were extra legal and things that were extra spiritual. You all don't think anything odd of it, the small, the large, the many cemeteries. In fact, one of the largest party locations in Bethany is in fact a cemetery. Children from the local high school go there to make out, to get lost amongst the tombstones. So Lita looking for places where the boundaries between this world and the next are at their thinnest. As a local to the area, despite her looking down her nose at all of the other lesser denizens, it is impossible for her to not go to the Providence Cemetery. That is actually not a full cemetery. It's just blessed ground at the back of the church. One of the many things that the locals understand is how to skirt the tax law. And as long as you bury a relative on your property, you can shave your taxes almost completely. And so lots of places, lots of ranches and plantations and churches and hell, just a trailer home sitting in the center of a plot of land have one or more ancestors buried on the property, clearly demarcated but still buried on the property. It is not all that hard to imagine. In all of the older homes, all the older estates, that is in fact the case, how they keep the property value so low for all of the land that falls under their domain. As such, finding yourself at the crossroads, there's something magical about certain times of the year. You know that tonight the boundaries between the realms are at their thinnest. So you find yourself parking there at the crossroads of Spring Ridge and Buncombe, doing your best to stay away from all of those drunkards there staggering out of the roadhouse, those carrying plates upon plates of barbecue and picture upon picture of beer and whiskey and tequila and that god-awful bathtub cognac that they make in the back room. You park and you wait and you watch, because sure as you're born, there is going to be an event, whether it's going to be a spiritual aurora borealis out there in the night sky, or there's going to be the second coming of the apocalypse. You find yourself sitting there waiting, watching, keeping your distance and making your notes. The only problem with the quietude, the only problem with being in such a place at such a time, knowing that something big is in the offing, is the fact that getting here, you've had to look into your rearview mirror. You've had to check your side mirrors as you drove here. Every time you do, you see yourself watching you. Every time you do, you realize what you gave up to be here, chasing empty air. Every time you look into the mirror, you catch yourself looking away or trying to avoid your own gaze. Because you gave up paradise. And speaking of giving up paradise and having to meet the weight of your own gaze, Joji. 3 nights. 3 nights forever.
Given the recent excitement, all right, go on, Jack. Given the recent excitement, I would think that Joji, in his incredibly emotionally exhausted state, would be seeking some kind of comfort, some kind of sanctuary. So, and he would also be looking to repay his benevolent, absolutely benevolent benefactor, Coleman. So I'm thinking he's going to be spending those 3 days in something of a retreat, going and visiting his longtime friend, though she doesn't know it, Marcy McCallum, and painting a mural of Coleman with her. And just trying to have a nice, relaxing time, get his head in the game, and figure out plans to go.
Now, here's a question. When attempting to paint a study with her or him and with them, do you have the model sit, or do you pose them, take a picture for reference, so they don't have to sit nearly as long? You can capture the perfect light, the perfect moment. They're frozen there on the film, or they're frozen there in pixels. How does Joji go about setting up for such?
So, as much as I love Coleman, there's this big red flag that appears around every single kindred's touchstone when they think about getting other kindred near them. So, I'm definitely not going to be having Marcy around Coleman if he can help it. So we'll go with painting off of an image. Plus, Coleman's a very busy individual.
So here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
You go to take her picture. Now, are you one of those old school artists who needs to actually develop the film, or do you use a DSLR, or what sort of?
It is absolutely the old film rolls. The antiquity of it he finds beautiful. Plus the long time standing in a dimly lit room with nothing but the sound of dripping water is a relaxing experience in and of itself. So yeah, he processes his film.
Excellent. And the reason why I say excellent is because part of the way that cameras work is you stage the lighting. You get the backdrop in place. You get her positioned exactly as you need her to be. And you only need her to sit still for just a couple of seconds longer, just a few moments. Because you can fire off 50 shots from slightly differing angles of height and dead on to 3/4. You can slightly move it around. And while you fire off shot after shot, but from muscle memory first to get her framed, you bother to look through the image finder. You bother to take in the fullness of her through the actual lens of the camera. Then we've talked about how every room has a sound. Every room has its own spiritual essence that's auditory, its own weight. The moment you look through the viewfinder, the moment you do, you see yourself looking back at you. Looking out away from the camera and fixing your eyes. Maybe it's just some trick of the light. You look back through the viewfinder and you see your own self looking at you, studying you, as if you could look through the one-eyed lens of the camera and stare into the infinite.
Oh fuck it! It's a no.
Yep, it's got a mirror.
Oh no.
With that experience in play and playing out, you did manage, of course, to get a few good pictures, a few good stills to work your painting from. But as you were sitting there with Coleman, who is as ever his ever-loving, happy self, he's marking on your recent affectations of dress and why aren't you wearing the piece that I brought. Some of that was for you to pick through and find something for yourself. And I think that you would look absolutely well with your complexion and wearing the golden rod. Now, it's not too much if you pair it properly with the jeans and unfortunately coveralls that make you look like a local, but this is all absolutely great, my dear boy. And he's just prattling on and on. And while you have the picture there's every time you look at it, your memory goes back to you watched you take that picture as both the photographer and the subject.
Oh, that's great. I can imagine that sneaks its way into the image in just either a subtle or not so subtle way as Joji's going through the motions of painting in almost a haze. It goes from something of just Coleman sitting there in the pose captured to one of those like oh god, I need to find the image, to a scene of Joji standing there, his hand on the back of the chair as Coleman's sitting watching the camera. The eyes of Joji staring back at him, observing him with a cold intelligence that he himself does not exhibit.
Or does he? Is that what he's actually running from? His truer self, his more honest representation of himself? Is that what's underneath all of the speed and alacrity to escape? The reality that he's actually only ever running from himself. And speaking of running, as Joji paints, as Maddie converses, as Lita waits, 3 nights India, 3 ever-loving, non-stop, unending nights.
First and foremost, one of her priorities would be to check on Jim, because when they last saw him, he was in the kerfuffle that was the carnival and the Hutchinsons and their bullshit. He was caught up in all that, so she would want to go check on Jim. Something else she'd want to get accomplished is if she does get in contact with Jim, she's gonna loosely ask him questions about her brother. Like, hey, what do you remember about when he died? What, like, how likely is it that maybe they got the wrong body? That kind of thing. Like, just like try to find out some shit. And then one of the last things she'd kind of worry about is she doesn't know that Joji went anywhere, so she'd kind of look for him. And if she does find Joji, she feels like they need to talk about what happened at the carnival, the whole you bit me and I bit you, so what the fuck does that mean situation. So yeah, those are the things she's worried about.
Yes. The awkward day after conversation.
Well, it's funny. You know, you'd think that with all of their experience in skirting the law, with all of their experience of those who failed in skirting the law and what happened when they did, But you'd think that the Hutchinsons would have found a better way than to rob, to roust, to raid the place that they had been hired to protect. Though the funny thing is, they managed to keep the letter of their agreement. They didn't allow any strangers to cause any problems because they, as locals, are not strangers, and they, as locals, could cause whatever problems they wanted. And they did. Unfortunately for them, and unfortunately for most people, when the police made it out to the carnival grounds, when they made it out there, the closest police department is the Wascom Police Department. It is a hyper-vigilant location. They're the location that most people from Bethany hate going to. Not that anyone enjoys, being arrested, but when they're arrested, they want to kind of be arrested on the Louisiana side of the line. You can go up to Greenwood, have a couple of 3 hots at the Cod, maybe even if you're down to Mansfield, and that's a little too far for them. It's almost an hour, but everyone is okay being arrested on the Louisiana side of the equation. While Wascom is overzealous and hyper-vigilant, Carthage is even worse. They actually have a full-fledged, damn near penitentiary for the local city issues. They don't have a few cells in the back behind the offices, and they feed you pot bellies and grandma's homemade chili. They don't bring in food for the people. No, they have an almost fully functional penal situation going on down in Carthage, and Wascom ain't too far behind. While the jail cells are still behind the offices back there where they park the cars, it's in the fucking garage. And unlike most places, they actually have a double-decker cell situation going on there. They really don't care for your life. So, finding out that 85% of the Hutchinsons were arrested, 85% of those that were present, as well as their hangers-on, were arrested that night, and ended up divvied up and split between Carthage, Tatum, and unfortunately for them, Wascom. You find yourself at the Wascom Police Department, and while normally they take you into a room, they bring him in and handcuff him to the table, and you guys have an opportunity to sit there and talk for a little bit, they've changed things. You have an electronic screen to visit him over because, well, to be perfectly honest, the judge couldn't be bothered to come in before Monday, and so he's going to spend the entirety of the weekend and probably much of the week there, because it's not like he can make bail because he spent most of his money just living. He doesn't get paid all that often. Most people know, I'll get you on Friday. No, I couldn't get you this Friday, but here's a few dollars. Take care of yourself. So I actually found around and get you the money that you need for the full time. So I'll see you back on Monday, or I'll see you back on Tuesday. And everybody knows that you can keep your tab going with him nearly ad infinitum, because what is he going to do? It's not like he can take you to court. You pay him when you pay him. And that's how he's managed to survive. So when he's taken in by Wascom and not able to make bail, you find yourself in a 8x8 room with this huge TV on one wall, and the black screen lightens up, and there he's sitting looking worse for wear. You know that they feed their prisoners 3 meals a day, but somehow being inside and not handing on one of the many ranches or plantations or farms and not being out in the open elements has made him worse. Having been bathed by forest daily with their shower system and what have you makes him look worse, makes him look older, makes him look weaker. It looks as if he's aging like a plant in the few days that he's been here. The problem?
Jim, she kind of sad a little bit. Damn it, Jim. How you let yourself get caught up like this? How much is it gonna be to get you out?
$400. I wasn't even involved, but they're saying that guilt by association, an ally beforehand or some shit. I don't know what they're talking about. I wasn't even doing anything. I was just having a sip. I went to the bonfire because it was fucking great. Then the bonfire goes blink, and all of a sudden the police are there. Maybe I did drink too much.
Well, you don't know what happened in between the blink and the tops.
To be perfectly honest, I woke up here and I just listening to the talk and talk.
Shit.
And talk.
You know what? I'm gonna get you out, and then we're gonna have a long talk because there's some shit. Okay?
Thank you. Just don't tell anybody that I got arrested with the Hutchinsons. It's not good for my reputation.
If I told them that, that would be admitting I associated with the Hutchinsons in the first damn place. So why would I tell anybody that?
Thank you, Indy. I appreciate it so very much.
Since I'm here and I got my car, I might as well get you out now because we have to talk on the way home. I got some things I need to talk to you about.
This is a good idea. Thank you. And so he's extraordinarily appreciative. And it's only as you head out to your car to get your checkbook that you realize what he said. You're 2 steps from the door, checkbook in hand, rifling in your inside jacket pocket for one of the pins that actually works. What did he say when you said you would get him out?
He remembers that he said that he missed some time, or that he remembers the blink and then waking up here.
And instead of Miss Love, what did he call you?
Fuck. She's having a moment.
Standing there with your hand hovering above the door handle. One of the many things about police stations such as this, with their own little group of cells to hold up to 12 individuals on premises, is they do everything they can to obfuscate their inner workings. So the door before you is this standard security style door, except for it has a completely opaque, dark grayish, muted green shellac that keeps you from being able to see through it. It reflects and refracts the light back at you. And the light in the parking lot at the Wascom Police Department is bright. It's designed to not have many shadows so that they can see anyone coming and going. All the cameras, blah blah blah, woo woo. But standing there as the wind gently moves those lamps, holding all of those bright lights, causing it to reflect and move as if you're swimming through a lake under the light of the moon. And you see your brother standing there, just over your shoulder. Dressed in his formal dress, his Class A's, that gorgeous hat that makes him look all the jauntier for it, being slightly cantered to the side. His almost too warm chocolatey brown eyes looking out of all of that opaque greenness at you. And as you stare into your brother's face, India, Annabelle 3 nights. 3 nights. It's hard to really encapsulate what 3 nights means, considering that you, as a member of the damned, have all of forever ahead of you. Every moment ahead of you, blending one into the next. 3 nights.
Annabelle first goes back to retrieve her, the patient she locked into her office in the vault.
How many days pass before you do this, Annabelle?
Just the one. Like we were at court, couldn't get back to him yet. But there's a couch, and there's like no light, so he's good.
Let's hope that one of his fears wasn't being locked up.
If it wasn't, it would be now. One night in an office designed to withstand or at least survive a kindred losing their patience with themselves or the world around them, locked into a place where they are deprived of light. A sensory deprivation chamber, if you will, except for there are very much real and actual senses that would take over when bumping into a desk or a chair, or tripping and falling over oneself, or attempting to find a place to get to the restroom only to have, well, failure.
So she goes back and checks on him and pretends she didn't do it on purpose. And very, very concerned with his well-being, and just.
Are you pulling the wool over his eyes? Would you attempt to actually try to convince him truthfully, or would you just, let's just call it quite simply what it might be, where you just simply not really even bothering to effectively lie? Not that you're not lying to him, but you don't bother even hiding the fact that you're attempting to lie to him. You gaslight him into lying to himself. No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like the door clearly wasn't locked. I know it was dark. I like to have it dark for meditation sessions, and oh, you poor thing. I don't know why you shit in my office, but next time the bathroom's down the hall. And so she acts very concerned, and then she's like, you know what? I'm hungry. And so
You shit in my office. I gotta get paid back somehow.
Yeah. So she's like, if somebody's gonna, lose control in my office, it's gonna be because of my fangs. And so once he's like calmed down and questioning his very existence, then she feeds on him, and she uses lingering kiss so that he doesn't have any, a real memory of what the fuck is going on, because everything's sort of confusing and delightful. And he knows that if he hadn't stayed, it wouldn't have felt so good.
He is horribly mentally and emotionally disfigured. There is a natural high that comes from the kiss. It is a high of such significant pleasure that it fugues the moment. Your mind filling in the gap like the missing face of the moon. The problem with this, in the moment, adding the lingering kiss, the added step up, the addictive aspect of it is confusing to the pastor because he smells very much like feces. There wasn't anything for him to wipe himself with. He feels ashamed, he feels afraid, he feels foolish, he feels doubting of everything, including his vow of celibacy. And then you provide him the best orgasm, the best, most glorious meal he has ever had without any food being present. You provide him with the perfect feeling of absolute release of it, as all the muscles tense and untense together, all of the vertebrae in your back snapping into place, being aligned, unpressured, all the weight from your hours in front of a screen fading away. No more is that hunch in the top of your back. Your eyes don't feel stressed or strained. You've had the best cry, the best laugh, all of the pleasure chemicals in his brain firing off all at once, erasing the facts and truth of what happened, save what his senses pick up immediately afterwards. So somewhere along the way in that grayed, whited out understanding of the now, his mind, his heart, his emotions connect with the idea of having the greatest moment of his existence, to have him reneging on his vows of celibacy, compounding with the scent of his own feces. So they blend together to be what he is, or believes, is the only way for him to enjoy himself, the only way to find the fine print on his contract with God is involving play with feces and food and personal gratification. Everything that he is suddenly broken and shattered and put back together, with all the jangly bits and edges pointing in the wrong directions, as his mind seeks to find a reason or a logic behind what his body and heart and loins are telling him.
And Annabelle grants him an extra ability to lie. To himself and to others. And she says, come back next week and we'll talk about your experience.
He goes from absolutely pathetic, from a golem when they're first embraced into the love and adoration of the ring, to laughing in pleasure and just overjoyed. He goes from a creature in the darkest of night, pitiful and pitiable, to singing Stevie Wonder as he leaves. In the key of Ave Maria, he sings overjoyed.
Yeah. It's always good to send one of hers back to the church.
Dealing with your client leaves you in a satiated state. You've managed to embed a deep cover agent. You've managed to connect with your client. But once they leave, the stench remains. Once they leave, the truth of what took place remains sitting there, because, well, eventually you'd have to find a way to clean up the stench and clean up the office, open the windows, get some air in here and all of that. But in the process of doing so, you'd...
Oh, no. She does not do that. That's what her retainer is for.
Her retainer?
Yes. That's her admin assistant. Calls him in, tells him to clean up the mess, and she goes to find a mirror.
You find the mirror, does the mirror find you?
So she answers the call without even hearing it. She feels it on the metaphysical level and finds her way there. Does she take the time to spend it in front of her bathroom mirror? Does she go to find her dressing mirror, the one that, if she stands in front of it, she can see her total ensemble before approaching one of her clients? Where does she find herself?
She rather appreciates mirrors more than she used to now. So she has a full-length mirror in her haven, which is in a secret room. But she also just, so there's another mirror like in the bathroom, like for people to like check themselves and stuff, like a standing full-length mirror. She just fucking takes it with her, so she can kind of like then bring it to her haven and like angle them together, so you can sort of see infinity being reflected when you aim them at each other. And she stands in the middle.
Oh, dearie me. That just won't do. Or at least that's what you believe the you in the mirror says as it walks around the reflected version of you, looking you over, your ensemble, the color choice, the cut of the ensemble, how it either hugs or drapes. There is a presentation that's expected as the herald, the emissary, the first amongst equals, the burgeoning truth of it all. There's a presentation that must be had, because you're speaking not just for yourself, but for yourself and all those who would use you as role model. Here's a question for Annabelle, and a slightly pressing one. If she had the opportunity to be her most truest self, what would that look like?
Her true self is much as she is now, but without the blush of life, without any hiding of who she is, without anything between herself and God, and her eyes turn gold, and the only things that she wears are two necklaces. One is a gold ankh and the other is a key. Just an old worn key.
And then a choice between everything joining in the middle or the doors opening for you, or being in the warmth and embrace of a loved one, where would you be right this moment?
The thing about Annabelle is that she doesn't have any loved ones. She has people that love her because she's forced them to. She has people that should love her but abandoned her. She does not have anyone who loves her except maybe in the mirror.
So we know what she thinks. It still doesn't quite answer the question of those opportunities and options. Where would she choose to be?
So we have with a loved one, or what was the other one?
At the crossing of things, the opening of a door.
She would go to the door.
Excellent. And as the mirrors begin to fog and steam, and possibly as if you were breathing on them and heating them up, the condensation from your breath causing water molecules to stick to the mirror and fog it up, like on cold days when you were a child, and the image of another person begins to materialize there before you. It is 31 after the hour. Let's be right back in 10 minutes. Well, here we are once again. When we last stepped away, each of the coterie members were making the best of their moments in the shadow of all that they'd experienced. Maddie was at the crossroads. Lita was at the crossroads. Joji was with Asher. India preparing to bail out her bondsman, as it were. And Annabelle having a conversation with her inner self in a way that most would envy, being able to truly sit down and talk with and address all of those negative, intrusive thoughts that crawl around the edges of our perceptions of reality. But much like the kindred existence, it's a blink and 12 hours have passed. It's a blink and it's the same moment as you last left. It is no time for you, even as the entirety of the daylight world has passed you by. So we return to the characters in the middle of those few moments, in the middle of escaping the weight and ramifications of those previous decisions, completely disregarding and not having any of the previous night's activities weigh on their shoulders, weigh on their minds, or in any way whatsoever be front and center and foremost in their thoughts. To say that each of the coterie members' nights ends relatively peacefully would be dishonest. It'd be accurate, but it would also be dishonest. For Maddie, spending time and overhearing and deaf, dumb, and blind to what lies on the other side of the veil it is a relatively peaceful night. The typical drunkenness that makes the world go round. The typical behaviors that can be summed up with eat or be eaten. Sometimes both. A pleasurable escape from all of the preternaturally supernatural aspects of her current existence. Nothing like spending time with an old friend and hearing wives' tales and gossip that is just outside of academia. It's not the dry, musty, dusty usual of the Tremere. It's not the academic understanding of the forces that make the world go round. It is told through tale and gossip and myths and pseudoscience and a very bent perception of what reality is. Having your eyes open enough but not being able to have the language, vocabulary, or understanding to describe what that is very much where Jerry is. He is approximating. He's making leaps of logic. He's applying his understanding of 1 + 1 to algebraic equations as to this energies and worlds just there to be had. For Lita, existing in a place where the boundary between this world and the next are all but non-existent. They are always thinner when and where forces are either at their lowest or at their apex, or where they are at cross purposes, where they overlap, where they combine, where they meld at their battlefronts. And crossroads are such a place, especially this one. The beliefs of the outlying community may manifest. Watching the aurora borealis of the spiritual world as it melds and slinks into and becomes part of the physical world is a wonder in and of itself. And for Joji, coming to grips with what exists just out there. He's not deaf, dumb, or blind. He doesn't choose to turn away. In fact, if one were to pinpoint his addiction, it is in seeing everything. Experiencing everything. Traveling 500 miles per second, but only walking down the street. Is where he has been existing and where he has been living. And for India, well, no matter where you go, there you are. And in the doorway, in that brief flickering moment, seeing her brother, the hero, there's a lot of questions and answers dancing just outside of her ability to grasp them. The common knowledge that she'd been given and gifted with: don't be whistling after dark, don't go, don't do, don't. And yet here is a very potent, palpable moment of, but what if? And for Annabelle, the days passing by, the moments slipping one into the next, of being able to address and see the edges of all of those many self-recriminations, able to fully wrap your arms around and embrace those imperfections of thought, those things that assail you when you least expect it. All of those intrusive moments made manifest. All of that to say, the 3 days passed fairly quickly. One thing leading to the next. Conversations had, moments escaped or delved into at their leisure. And at the end of those 3 days, just when a sense or a hint of normalcy begins to seep into, the world really didn't blink out of existence. It's impossible. It really wasn't as dark as that. Maybe it was a group of hysteria. Maybe it was just a moment of being slightly blood drunk. It couldn't have been as bad as it actually was. Despite the scars, despite the bruises, despite the divesting of the city of one of its guards. Normalcy. Some things being able to be realized, some things being just outside of perfectly timed, some things being worse timed. Normalcy begins to creep in. And just when the doubt as to the reality of what you've experienced settles over your shoulders, comes the dreaded, unwanted, unneeded knock. The knocks summoning you, drawing you forward, divesting you as per usual. At Liam's shop, Kaylee and Rosalie, of course, greeting you all as you, answering the summons, find yourself here once again. 3 days have passed. 3 fruitful nights have come and gone, and moments had, moments missed, opportunities seized. And you find yourselves once more back here. As you all wait for everyone else to gather, because for the first time in forever, Liam's not here. Callie and Rosalie are, but Liam's not here. Worse yet, there is a shipping crate sitting on a dolly, a hand truck, that is ominously almost perfect proportions for someone to be inside. Or if you're being honest, you probably stack 3 someones or somethings inside. And you all have the opportunity of being here in this moment alone as the rest of the honored guests are to arrive.
I really didn't want to see you guys again this soon. I mean, hello.
Hi.
Well, you know what they say. Bad pennies always turn up.
Indeed.
At least it wasn't no mirrors this time. Or weird ass little kids.
Not yet, at least.
The weird ass little kids were far worse than the mirror, I believe.
Yeah, I would agree about the kids. They were something.
Nah, I'd say they're about equal.
Oh, that's right. You guys actually went and took a trip down Electric Avenue. I didn't have to do that, so maybe that's the difference in our experience here.
Was it so bad for you in the mirror?
It was a little, distracting. Like, I knew I was in some sort of a dreamscape, which made it not quite a fun experience.
Because you couldn't simply embrace the experience for what it was.
Nah, because I couldn't get the fuck out when I wanted.
And why were you so keen on getting out?
Sorry to interrupt there, but have you ever been, like, locked in a box?
Yes. Have you?
Yes. The lack of freedom of mobility and the somewhat powerless state you find yourself in when you have zero control over anything besides your immediate person is not cool. I imagine, he kind of glances over towards Mattioli speaking, I imagine being stuck in the mirror was the sort of similar situation, like a cage.
No, I mean, I had books, I could get around where I wanted to, I had some giant fucking cats that I could pet and cuddle up with. That was a big clue that it wasn't real, by the way. But no, it was more like, I have shit to do, a job to do. Can't really do it if I'm stuck.
A sense of duty.
Beaten into me over several years.
Yeah, I don't think I would be cool trapped in a weird alternate reality, specifically keyed to what I like. That would, I've had many discussions about whether or not I would enjoy the concept of heaven, and I don't know. It feels like being a pet, really.
Well, I mean, you act like you're barely comfortable stuck in your own skin sometimes.
I am not.
I keep seeing my dead brother.
Oh, that's
He keep trying to talk to me.
That sucks. Are you okay?
All of a sudden, I'm glad I'd never had siblings.
He tried to take over Jim's body for one moment because I had to go bail Jim out of jail. And he called me Indy too, and Jim has never called me Indy ever.
That's... I can imagine that was hard for you. Have you learned more about the situation, or is it just that he's hanging around?
I think something's got him trapped. And I don't know what it is yet, but I feel like there's something unfinished or something he didn't quite get to do and he was taking too soon. And when they buried him where they buried him at, there's too much magic or something there, and maybe he's stuck.
I mean, he gestures over to Lita. We can go and try and figure that out once, and we've got some more time on our hands. Lita, do you think you could help?
I'm certain I could.
I mean, I would hate for him to be trapped here, with, especially if it's less of an unresolved business thing and more of a similar to the, mirror thing situation.
Now, far be it from me to intrude, but what sort of mirror thing are y'all talking about?
Just like a creaky, rusted hinged door, just rotates towards the voice.
Yeah, who is that?
Coleman himself, Mr. Asher. Though, depending on his day, he might say that Mr. Asher was his father or Mr. Asher was his mother. But needless to say, Coleman is particularly fond of being called Coleman, even though most of the folks in town calls him the Candy Man.
Oh, Coleman. Yeah, no, I thought I'd mentioned this to you. I must have slipped me, but there's a thing. There's a thing in the mirrors.
Well, if you tuck it back, you don't have to look at it. But I understand. Strange things are abounding.
Oh, no. I said I'm uncomfortable in my body, but not like that way. No. There's literally a thing in the. Have you looked in the mirror recently? That's
often as I can. As often as I can. It's seldom that you have the opportunity of seeing all that God might wreak upon the flesh. But luckily, they make mirrors so that I can look upon myself and know that God was in fact quite just in doling out his mercies and kindness upon us. You know what they say, God never gives you more meat than you can pack.
Now, I can't say I've ever heard it phrased quite that way, but more or less.
Absolutely. What we're talking about, I guess, is, if you're not experiencing it, is perhaps a limited phenomena. Anybody got any better way of describing this? I literally can't look through the lens of my camera without having me staring
The
back.
ringmaster had some sort of plan to trap things in the mirror and let something else out of the mirror, and it's some sort of creature that likes to live in mirrors and trap things in mirrors, and that's what's going on, because we were there when it got released. For some reason, we are being haunted now by the things in the mirror.
That is just not any sorts of fun. I have once in a while played the game of Hunter and Prey, but to not have agency, to not have a safe word, that doesn't seem very well. Let's just put that on the back burner. We wouldn't want to scare anybody else into seeing such things as that. If I were y'all, I'd keep that between myself, at least for a little while longer. I understand that we all have been called here because of y'all's issue with Miss Logan.
Yeah, that's news. I thought that got resolved.
Well, of sorts. I understand that whatever it was that y'all were doing out at the carnival with the Cinder Stones had left our dear attaché Connor in less than great sorts. I understand that Regent Wolven and Scourge Rodriguez are attempting to mend the flesh as best as possible. They'd hate to lose their resources already spent on attaché Connor. Unfortunately, the moment as he says, unfortunately, you can hear the doors opening as Prince Carlson Garcia enters, along with Sheriff Pierre Valentin, the only two that, well, are the other third of the physical might of Bethany.
I have such a hard time not referring to Jackson's overall appearance as Disco Cowboy. It is absolutely amazing. But as the totally not related to me in any way, shape, or possible Prince Garcia walks through, just snapping to attention.
I see that you all are here. Asher, you already filled them in. I'm taking it because we know that you love being the first to. I was just sharing what I understood. Now, I may be mistaken, but I don't believe that I am. They are here because of their relationship to Ms. Logan. Are you serious? I was just guessing. Yes, as per your idea, they're, instead of enlisting them to otherwise, well, be privy to and part of the interrogation and investigation into whatever it is that Miss Logan has released upon Bethany. You all are, because of your outstanding service as put forth by Asher here, will be handling the transportation. And she knocks on the shipping container that could fit 3 people stacked on top of each other, to Ms. Logan being taken to the Moorkeeb Chantry in Shreveport, so that she might be better interrogated by those who have the time to waste instead of just dispensing justice due to her connections to and with various members of the Las Vegas Chantry.
Oh.
Excellent.
Do we have any questions?
I do?
Yes, Mr. Garcia.
Regarding the events.
Yes. Credit has been given to you all for helpfully aiding in driving the carnival on out of Bethany and it not reaching Shreveport. There have been no sightings of the carnival proprietor nor any of their administration staff. So we have effectively and officially completed our task. As far as your incident report, Asher informs me that you all linked some of the disturbances and their ability to slip around undetected, and the feedback that caused the damage to the region's attaché to Ms. Logan. I want to thank you all for your service and express our appreciation. Without your tying everything to Ms. Logan and without your success at finding a way to drive the carnival on, who knows what they might have unleashed or wreaked on Shreveport, which would look poorly for all of us.
Absolutely, and thank you for answering my question, even though I'm unfortunately too stutter-mouthed to properly word it.
No, it's completely understandable. Your commendations have been passed along. In fact, as far as Regent Wolverine has informed us, we understand that Prince Johnson will be meeting you at the Chantry to accept this traitor's body for interrogation personally.
Oh.
And the ringmaster has disappeared, you say?
Yes,
entirely.
They have not made it to Shreveport, which is not a poor thing. And as far as Primogen St. Jeffers has stated, as far as the spies and other aspects of Prince Johnson's Primogen Council and their abilities and contacts, they haven't been seen since. They didn't pass through any of the checkpoints getting into Shreveport, and them scouring as best as possible to find them has turned up nothing. It's been long enough for any failures on your part to have come to light, and because of your outstanding success, you all are being commended. You're being rewarded, and part of that unfortunately does require a hair more service on your part in delivering Miss Logan to the Moorkeeb Chantry in Shreveport.
Out of character, I have a question. How sincere does he sound about our commendation?
How she is
Yeah.
one of the few things with Prince Carlson Garcia is that she, when she speaks, it doesn't have much flowery speech. She doesn't double talk or subtweet or subtext anything. She's fairly direct.
Well, we'd be more than happy to help out in this endeavor.
Some say it's because of her gangrel heritage. Others simply because she's a lifelong denizen of Bethany and the area they're in. Like that idyllic, tried and true, simplistic approach to things. Others because she literally doesn't care about doing anything except for her primary job of acting as a watchtower to Shreveport, supposedly.
So this is actually intended as a commendation of our service, is my impression.
Yes.
All I'm saying is it might be true. We don't know. So no, I didn't say that. Okay. Oh well. Cool.
There are the thoughts that you say in your head and the words that come out of your mouth. You must make sure to distinguish. Yeah.
Nah, what's the worst can happen? It's not like anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of social opinion. But
Coleman, Asher, use it against me. Hold it against me.
Cool. I know where the door is.
But do you now? That is the question. After all, everyone believes they have an inclination as to which door we're talking about. Sometimes we're talking about the one that's right there, and sometimes, well, you know, between taking the stairs and the elevator, I don't know about you, but I'd much rather enjoy the view out the window than the one down the elevator shaft.
This is not the first time that we've been threatened with being thrown out the window, and it's telling, nobody. It's very telling about what your thoughts are.
Well, we do try to foreshadow as much as possible.
Oh.
So, with the conversation from the prince, with Coleman's warm up his prelude, with the sheriff standing near enough at hand to put hands, should they be needed, on anyone, are there any other questions? Would you all have any other conversation with the prince, the sheriff, and Coleman, or would you simply do elsewise?
Yeah, actually, I do have something to talk to the prince about. Give me a moment. Let me make sure I'm not misnaming the prince really quickly. Prince Carlson Garcia, actually, while I have a moment of your time, I'm working on a piece currently in my downtime for Coleman, and I would absolutely love if you would give it an appraisal after I'm done.
Okay. What do you need me to look at? It's not a dick pic, is it?
No.
Well, heavens no, Lord. I've already seen what he has to work with. I'm sure that you might be mostly impressed, but I understand that's not necessarily your thing. Even during your living days, I understand, my prince, that you were of divergent taste. No, I wasn't.
India is blushing and like trying not to laugh.
No, I whenever I finish it up, I'd love to get your opinion on it, and if you enjoy my work, I'd love to do one for you as well.
Well, I could always use something to brighten up the shop. I'm sure you could. After all, Hot Rods is, while a local establishment, not very much as far as things are concerned. It's just a blip along the radar. I don't even remember the last time someone said they were going to sit on your stoop and enjoy... Asher. Of course, my friends, I'm truly sorry. I don't mean anything by it, but, I have been spending so much time with the Leroys, and you have not bothered to come by. I don't have time. Of course you do. You are completely and 100% the highest, most respected of every kindred who has even thought about being near Bethany. If you were to say that it was a local holiday for you to spend time in the company of the Leroys or come by the candy shop, I am sure that... Is this your way of marketing to build a groundswell, a buzz? No, I really would like you to simply maybe let your hair down, well, more than usual anyway, and kick back and enjoy yourself. It would be my greatest pleasure to have you relax in my establishment or in my company so that I might take in all that you might have to offer. It would be my unparalleled pleasure. Perhaps once work is in fact done, we might consider such a thing. It would be heaven, I swear. You would have nothing else like it, nothing to compare it to or against. It would be life affirming in every way imaginable. Isn't that right, Joji?
Yes, yeah, 100%. He says this, he was totally not just in the moment.
Well, my prince, if you will excuse me, I have to again tend to business. Let's business tend to me. When and if you get the opportunity this evening, the next evening, or whatever you say, I will most assuredly make sure that you have the greatest experience of your existence so that we can have much to talk about in that regard. I will leave you to sending these scallywags on their way so they can hurry home to us. After all, the big city isn't for everybody.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. Wait, do you know if Kaylin's gonna be there?
I wouldn't ever dream of spoiling the surprise.
Okay. I look forward to it, to the surprise. Well, I suppose we should get going then, unless anybody else has anything to say. I don't want to waste too much of the prince's time.
No, I have to be going. There's a few issues taking place in the Panola County portion of our domain. I want to make sure that we are locked up tight, considering that I'm not quite sure how it's possible, but supposedly, even with all of the animals being accounted for, there was several lion sightings, and not mountain lion, actual lion sightings.
Like one might find in a circus.
Yes.
India kind of catches eyes with her grandsire, and we might know something about that.
Uh-oh.
Do tell.
Well, the circus that we just broke up, or the carnival that it was, they had several lions on, not staff, it's pets. They here had lions as pets, and then they had women that could turn into lions. So, with the ringmaster being missing and the whole carnival kind of falling apart, it makes you wonder where them lions got to.
So they had lycanthropes that could turn into lions, and so that even with all of the animals accounted for, there could be other members of the carnival that are shifting into lions in our domain.
Indeed, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
No, I don't know if I would call them lycanthropes, but yeah.
What would you call a bipedal human that can shift into a lion that is prowling our country's?
Perhaps a fairy of some sort.
Now, I wouldn't worry too overly much about it just yet. It did kind of maul me all to crazy, but as you can see, no lasting damage from it. Like, not within even like 5 minutes. All gone. Poof.
Yeah, that was the nature of my statement. As far as I'm aware, if a lupine gets a hold of you, poof.
If that were the actual case, gangrel wouldn't be at all. Not every attack is damaging enough to end your existence. They just keep attacking. So the first attack you survive, maybe even the second, but the third and fourth and fifth and sixth, and until their frenzy is over, God knows the sort of damage they get up to. Fucking hell. Alright, so take this bitch to the truck upstairs, get to Shreveport, then get back. We need to set up a perimeter and begin beating the bush for these lions that are out there. Hurry up, come on, go ahead, get out of here.
No, yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure that they were supernatural lions, what they could turn into.
Wait, no, it's fine.
Like, I think they were able to turn into lions, but that they were more or less normal.
More of a projection, you mean?
Well, we can
More
discuss
like
as we
kind of transformation between states, perhaps.
as Joji's just like, all right, walk and talk, let's go.
So lycanthropes that are able to remain human, but what, ghost? So we have to worry about ghost lion attacks? Would
He was a little crazy there.
as long as there aren't any more surprises that you all didn't share with Asher, so that we are further in the dark as to what that circus carnival freak show was.
We did share, just sharp. We did share this shit about the kids, right? And the like creepy ringmaster. What else did we cover?
We've shared, as far as I'm aware, we've shared everything with Coleman. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we.
Yeah, like we didn't deliberately forget anything.
Why would you? No, we did not deliberately forget anything.
It comes in handy sometimes. You should try it.
No. He says it's between Annabelle and the prince. No, I would never try that.
Jackson leans over and whispers into the prince's ear, as you all say you didn't.
I remember mentioning the lions, but I didn't think y'all took it serious.
Dude, this was Shar trying to remember.
What did you say? Jackson leans in and starts whispering something to the prince?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Hey, look, we have a job to do, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's time that we get to it. Any other theories and investigations about the lion possible lupine entities can be taken care of after we handle this business, and then we'll get right on that.
I think it would be feline rather than lupine. But
I don't know the term.
All right, I think we're beyond the point, and we will achieve our objective. We will return, and we can speak about these shifting creatures further. If we think of anything, we will let you know.
That sounds perfect.
Okay. Have a lovely day, night. Have a lovely night. Let's get out of here. Go on. As he just starts shuffling away.
Yeah.
In the distance as they...
Maddie will tip an imaginary hat towards everyone.
Mm-hmm. What were we saying, Annabelle?
No, I just said, all right.
Just in the distance as they're walking away, just, why would you suggest to the prince that we're forgetting things on purpose? Why would you do that?
I said that out of character. I specifically said I was talking out of character.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not catch that.
Yeah.
Those of
All right.
you...
I mean, it's funnier the other way, but...
Those of you with a wit politics pool of 5 or higher have the opportunity of evaluating your performance as a group, a coterie, in front of the prince and the sheriff. Predominantly in front of the sheriff.
I have a pool of 5.
Ew.
Yeah, I fancy.
All right.
Look at her.
Give that wits and politics a good roll, and you need a minimum of 2 successes.
All right, I believe in you.
Do you? Because I don't. Oh wait, is my hunger's back? Have we healed?
Did
I
you?
mean,
Because I'm down, aggravated, willpower and stuff.
you've got
And that-
to take specific actions to heal aggravated willpower, which is why Joji went and hung out with one of his touchstones.
Same.
Oh,
I mean, I corrupted a dude, so I feel like that counts.
Right.
No. Nobu, what's the verdict?
What verdict? What are you talking about?
Give it a shot. We believe in you.
All right. Well, I would at least have healed my regular willpower.
Remember, you can always rouse. Well, almost always rousing. Sometimes it's... Well, what's the opposite of arouse? Is it unrouse?
Deroused.
Derouse. Yeah.
Sadness.
There's A rouse and then there's Z rouse.
There's. All right.
Give it a shot. I believe in you.
There we go. My hunger should be 1 because I ate that guy. Hold on.
Now, let's see. Boop boop.
And you said difficulty was 2?
Minimum 2. Higher is better.
I got 2.
Yeah!
There are interrogations that are clearly interrogations. There are interrogations that are masked as interviews. There are interrogations masked as conversations. This began as a commendation and a hey, thank you all, take this there, to an actual interview. The prince politely prompting and poking at the idea and playing at a lack of intelligence, getting you all to reveal ever more than you had already revealed. The sheriff did not take part because they were watching each of you. The autonomic responses of telling a lie or catching yourself in perhaps revealing or not revealing everything you know, not being completely forthright, was what was being measured by the sheriff. While the conversational aspect of the interview was being handled by the prince, there was a point in the conversation where they went from being wholeheartedly, this is what it has been presented to you all have been withholding information. And it happened from a solicitation idea, a question, a follow-up question to information that had been presented extemporaneously.
That was about the shifter?
Mm-hmm.
Was when that happened?
I think that's the only new information we brought to the table. So, yeah.
And I think to be
it wasn't new because I had mentioned it, but it was in the course of everything being crazy, and they weren't taking us seriously, or I felt like I wasn't being taken seriously. So I don't know whether they took that information and passed it on, or they just were like, they're being full of shit and didn't pass it on. So now it's new information because we weren't taken seriously.
I think honestly.
So for us presenting this information, we knew that we had said it. Therefore,
Yeah, well, we knew India had said it, but it didn't make its way up to the top, apparently.
Right, but that's not guilt. That's annoyance. We told you we told somebody this, they didn't believe us, blah, blah, versus, oh shit, we didn't tell them this and now they know. That's a different response.
I think it all matters as to how it was portrayed, and well, at no point during that conversation did we mention, oh yeah, no, we've told people about this before.
That's true. But if the sheriff was measuring our physical responses, trying to decide if we were being shady about it, right?
Yeah,
our responses by nature would have been, we're not lying about this thing.
We'll see how it comes out. But either way, Joji was fully under the impression, when Coleman knows everything that I know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's just what I'm trying to clarify. We don't have a reason to have. We didn't hide this, and so we're not worried about it.
Well,
basically what happened was this. India, in the midst of the car being driven, and they asked us what happened, she mentioned it then in the car with Asher and Logan. Mm-hmm. And then somebody flipped it around on her, and she was being treated like, oh, that's bullshit, that doesn't exist, and that kind of thing, where they kind of blew it off. But she remembers mentioning it and told them that. But then in front of the regent, it didn't get brought back up because it was in the middle of this whole mudslinging shit where she ends up caught up.
Right.
Like, we did nothing wrong, but we also cannot necessarily control the perceptions of others. If we do get dragged into a room over this, like, hey yo, India did tell Coleman and Logan, although I suppose Logan is in the shitter right now, so.
Logan is in the shitter, and Asher wasn't in the car. That was Miss Rivers.
Ah, there you go. Wait. Oh no. the one that can prove our innocence is the fucking minister.
Yeah, that's the best person to prove your innocence. Would you like some help?
Yeah. Prove your innocence by proving that innocence doesn't exist.
Yes.
There is no such thing as innocence or guilt.
Anyway, I just wanted to not that this is going to change things. I was trying to figure out
where the information had fallen through the cracks and why. And that's a great vantage point to have as you all load in the result of your banding together with Asher into the truck that you've all been provided, which is actually not a truck. It is a Sprinter with storage space in the back so that you can comfortably seat up to 12 the way that the seats have been installed.
You know? I'm so glad that, I'm not a goddamn child, and I didn't give in to the urge to make a joke about how much room that Sprinter has in his back.
Are you sure you didn't?
No, I am a perfectly mature adult who understands a Sprinter as a type of vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Anyway, we're in the Sprinter and we are headed towards Shreveport.
We are in the Sprinter. We're headed towards Shreveport. Is there anybody else in the van with us, or is it just us?
Logan.
You.
Wait,
all right. Well, then I'm going to tell them what I noticed.
Well, Logan is there, but they don't really count.
Yeah,
they're a non-issue.
They're only slightly aware of what's going on around them.
It's the Logan popsicle.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell everybody, I think the prince thought we were withholding information on purpose when that is not what happened.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So be aware of that. And if we can think of anything that didn't make it to our hearing, I believe we should tell them as soon as we can.
Okay. How do we fix the misunderstanding?
Isn't it simple? Isn't it obvious? If you remove the prince, you don't have to answer to them anymore.
Shut up, voice. Shut up.
That is definitely on Annabelle's mind, but works for the Primogen. Yeah, so was there anything? How do we fix this? We just deal with it.
Okay, alright. I am not good at navigating those circles, so he just kind of pans around the group. Whoever is best at that, I leave that in your hopefully capable hands.
Yeah, I don't do politics. I just stand there and look scary.
Wait, India, you're. Do you think you could take care of this?
I mean, her being my sire, I guess it'd be a little more.
We don't. It's not a lie that we need to tell. It's only.
No, it's not a lie. I think I could be okay with maybe letting her and I have a private conversation, and I will go over the story again to make sure that she understands all that happened that night.
Okay.
Including the things that we found out when we had the court thing.
Yeah, do we tell them about the mirror thing? Because Coleman said to keep that somewhat under wraps, but I don't know if Coleman's gonna tell them or.
You know Coleman better than I do. I don't trust him as far as I can fucking throw him.
You could probably throw him, but he's very fit. He's not exactly like a hefty boy. You could probably throw him pretty far.
I think that's perhaps besides the point of the metaphor.
Oh, sorry, I got a little distracted. If Coleman knows, then technically we have done our job. We have told Coleman, and that is what we were asked to do. We were asked to inform Coleman of everything.
Yes.
If Coleman thinks it is best left undiscussed, then that is my course of action.
Why would they wish it? I suppose it sounds a little crazy.
What?
Well, our whole existence is a little crazy.
Just a little.
Also, which of us is going to be driving?
Anybody have any dots in drive? Let's see.
I have a singular dot and drive, but I think we've experienced what happens when you allow me to take the wheel.
I don't know how to drive.
You know what? Fine, fuck it. I'm the driver. Let's go.
I was gonna say I don't have a dot and drive, but I have a pretty high dexterity.
What? We're modern people. Why do you not have dots and drive, people?
Because I don't drive fancy. I have people for that.
You know, you don't drive
I ride
fancy.
horses.
Fancy is in Las Vegas.
Well, and that's a decent thing that Joji is in the driver's seat, because how many people have partied at the Leroy's?
I don't even know what the Leroy is.
The Leroy's, the twins' place, the cemetery.
Oh.
How many of y'all have partied at the Leroy's?
When I was younger, absolutely.
I think that I have had zero say in whether or not I have partied in the Leroy. I think that's definitely one of those Mama Coleman is gonna treat you right, baby type situations.
Excellent.
Annabelle partied absolutely everywhere she possibly could.
Excellent. So as the driver, and standing over his shoulder, head shrinking him while he drives you all down the expressway towards Shreveport, you two who have partied at the Leroy's recognize that gloriously refitted rear end. Many nights have you all spent hanging out around and on that particular tailgate. You know what they say, if you've been in one tailgate, you've been in another. But however, the Leroys have a disastrously efficient way of balancing both aspects of their seeming. When thinking of the fraternal twins that are the Leroys, emperor and empress. It is most easy to believe that empress is the feminine half of that particular conflated entity that are the Leroys, but it is absolutely false. They shift and meld and flow like water from one edge of the spectrum to the next, and they do so in the practiced, skilled way that only dancers who have danced each other and that particular piece of movement often enough to do so with their eyes closed. So as Empress shifts into the masculine, Emperor shifts into the feminine, and as Emperor shifts into the feminine, Emperor shifts into the masculine without losing time, without losing the timing or the beat. They meld and dance and move through. So parties with the Leroy at their cemetery is not only life altering, but oftentimes, if one gets too caught up into the groove, mind altering. And for Kindred, for who nothing changes, everything is the same, it's one long unending night, that ability to have an altered perception, if even but for a few moments,
it's a beautiful thing.
so that tailgate of that fort stands out as you all move down 79 towards Shreveport.
Wait a second. Why are the Leroy here?
Are you saying they shouldn't be?
Well, no. It's just I didn't expect an escort.
But they're not. They're ahead of you all. And as you all bypass the turnoff onto 80, or 79 becomes 80, and continue right on into the 20, so that you can get directly to the Muir Keep directly, they turn off onto the 80.
Oh, well, I guess it's just the small town effect.
It's too bad.
Yeah, that would have been fun. I should have pulled up and waved at them. I think that would have been more appropriate.
I don't think it's too late.
Well, they're literally, as he just gestures, they're literally going off into the horizon.
I mean,
Right. We're in the middle of doing something. Maybe should keep going.
I mean,
Chill
no, I'm still going. It's just opportunities missed. Yeah.
honestly, if you haven't partied with them, you
Have
really
you
should.
partied? You know?
Absolutely. It's
No. That was me saying, like, if you haven't partied with them, have you partied? You know?
yeah. I'm
I
agreeing.
think you have partied with them. Sorry, I don't know. Just ignore me.
You're good. You're good.
Now, the prince expects you all to know certain things, or to have understood certain things, or to have been certain places. How many of you all have ties, connections, or have actually partied, been allowed in Shreveport directly to know where the Muir Keep actually is?
I do.
Yeah, I have no idea.
India does.
Maddie went to the university over in Shreveport.
I may or may not have spent several sleepless nights staring at a map of Shreveport and longing after my sire.
Now that's just sad.
Fuck you.
All of that to say, while the area in and around Bethany is filled and littered with countless, far too many houses of the spirit, both liquid and disembodied, Shreveport is unlike most other kindred domains, most other cities, most other epicenters. Shreveport is the hub of kindred activity for 3 differing states. Shreveport as a city is one of the few in the entirety of the world that is governed by an actual upstanding member of the Tremere. The Prince Johnson, is a regent level Tremere. His seneschal, Miss Charlotte, sadly falls well within the grasp and perception of what a prince should be, but she is in fact only a seneschal, and many have an issue with the seneschal, the right hand, the everyday practicing Prince of Shreveport, being in every way, as for title, a prince who has a chief of security that is a renowned former hound of a sheriff. The Primogen Council in Shreveport, such a wide slice of kindred existence, be it Primogen Wainscott Price and her 7 known personalities, Primogen St. Jeffers, or the regional for 3 differing states, not just one city, not just Shreveport, but the regional blood czar, Primogen Blake, or the head of the gaming bureau for not only Louisiana, but Oklahoma and Texas, Primogen Abagnale, or the Banu Hakim Primogen, simply known as Masha. The sheriff being a member of those damn magisters, Sheriff Boudreaux, who many disparagingly often call Scourge Boudreaux, to which she simply smiles knowingly. Primogen Nangup, also of the magisters, and Primogen Charlotte Reggie, the actual Primogen of the Tremere of Shreveport. It is a wide swath of various powerful kindred bending a knee not just to the Tremere Prince, but the Ventru Seneschal. Games within games, circles within circles, and it's overwhelmingly tense. Rooms have sounds, as do cities, and Shreveport always feels sweltering. It always feels far too much in far too small of a space. It gets worse for those of you who have been to Muirkeeb. Muirkeeb is actually a full-fledged practicing mosque. Muirkeeb is the secret to how the prince is able to control, well, a city such as Shreveport, a city that has the grip and grasp over 3 differing states. A city that is broken down into more than a few differing city-side spaces, whether it's the North Bossier, the North Market, Cross Lake area, Pine, Southern Hills, the LSUS area, or South Bossier. There's East Bossier as well, but only a fool would go that far out for something to eat unless you're wild and woolly. So as you all make it into the city, a trip that should have taken roughly about 22 minutes, given the present levels of traffic this evening and most evenings, and the fact that everyone drives as quickly as they possibly can to get where they need to get to. It's taken 37 minutes as you all find your way easing off the expressway onto Commons. You see the mosque that is the Muakib Chantry House there. Its spray painted graffitied facade hiding an immense amount of power. And Lita, there is no need to roll if you have your sense the unseen present. It is literally as if you are moving into the world's largest deep freezer. You can feel the coolness of the spiritual world crawling across your skin. You feel the overwhelming weight of entering into a necropoli, pulling your heart down into your shoes. The magnificence of the spiritual weight herein, even without attuning yourself to that spectrum of vision, causes you to go partially blind in one eye. And you all ease to a stop in your Sprinter out front.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, here we are.
Do you think there's somebody waiting for us outside, or should we just drag the gestures towards the not so kindred inside ourselves, or?
Didn't they say there would be someone to meet us?
Kind of looks around outside.
They did.
Somebody check the back. Because I remember last time we came here, I had to do that thing, that hijab or whatever that was. You get supposed to cover your hair if you're a woman.
Like in Egypt. Yes.
Basically, it's a mosque, so they expect you to kind of fall in line with the...
I have no problem with that.
Did any of you bring one? Sounds like an awfully niche situation to have just in your handbag.
Actually, I might have.
No, that's why I said check and see in the back if they have them, because sometimes they'll put them in the car if we know we're coming here.
I mean, yeah, go ahead. Check them out. And what were you saying, Nobu, about somebody being here?
Mm-hmm. Do you remember whom they said would be meeting you?
I don't. I have a trash fire memory.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. Let me see. Masha?
So, as India searches through the back to find a matching hijab, a head covering, much like Lita is already wearing. Almost as if they had previous experience and were told to dress more appropriately, even for them. There are exactly 4 hijabs waiting, hanging from the exposed space in the trunk area of the Sprinter. There's purple, there's blue, there's a yellow, and one singular black hijab.
Hey guys, it looks like we were sent out here to do a job.
You are lucky that you said that out here.
I'm so sorry. I know. It occurred to me, and I had way too much time thinking about it, and I had to get it out of my head.
Unlike most mosques, this one actually does have artwork on the outside, not just a spray painted graffiti. But across the top of the building are jinn, though most people would just simply call them gargoyles. And as you all are, those of you who are actually bothering to cover your heads, and those of you who are assisting with removing the shipping crate that houses Miss Logan, and the two-wheeler that is used to help maneuver the shipping crate, Prince Johnson steps out of the entry door into the mosque and begins crossing the distance, the exactly 33 steps that lead up to that main entrance door. His tie surprisingly wide, his collar surprisingly deep, the lapels prim and proper and looking as stiff as steel themselves. And he takes step after step, closing on you all as you begin to disembark. There aren't any cameras on the mosque. There aren't any external signs of security. Yet it's almost as if he knew you all had arrived.
That's not creepy at all. Fucking creepy.
Maddie probably doesn't seem that concerned about it. But she'll get out and start helping to unload the box. Because I feel like she's probably the muscles of the group.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Who puts on the hijab?
I do.
India definitely would. She'd probably pick the purple one and make short work of pinning it on and
I feel like Maddie would probably make do with, like, just a bandana.
With my Egyptian heritage, can I recall any sort of significance to the colors? I don't think there would be.
No.
And
As a psychologist, you know that that's a test of color theory, using that as a psychological ground point for the person that uses them, as well as the willful rebellion of not doing so, of shitting on someone else's culture by not engaging in superficial practices.
right.
It sucks being a psychologist who knows that people use pop psychology and actual psychology in various states along the way.
It's true. Yeah, so she's absolutely gonna to pick one. I can't remember what the colors were, but she picks a pretty one. She's great. Gold, yellow.
So, as Prince Johnson closes on you all, he pauses on the 30th step from the door. 2 steps from actually putting foot to sidewalk concrete. Slipping his hands into his pocket. You all don't have to unload here. You can do so from the rear, like the Leroy's.
Oh, okay.
They beat us here?
He smiles, inclines his head, meeting each of your eyes along the way. And as he lightly looks you all over, mentioning the parking in the rear to unload, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode. And see you all next week. Well, next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.